Hey everybody, we are just one day away from NHL free agency, which starts tomorrow at noon. And today we're going to be looking at the top 10 free agents available in this year's free agency, at least as of now. Yesterday we looked at the top 10 goaltenders. Today we're going to be looking at the top 10 skaters who could be hitting the free agent market tomorrow at noon. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. One is that these players could sign with their current teams at any time. So there is no guarantee that they do actually hit the open market tomorrow at noon. They still have the next 24 plus hours to get a deal done with their current teams and stay where they are. And the other thing is that I left two very big names off of this list because in all likelihood, it's pretty close to guaranteed that they're going to be returning to their current teams. One is Alec Martinez, one of the most sought-after defensemen this year, appears to be staying in Vegas. It was widely reported yesterday that there is a 3-year deal at around $5 million per season in place between Martinez and the Golden Knights, so it doesn't seem like he's actually going to be hitting the open market. And the other is Alex Ovechkin. I can't imagine him playing in the NHL for any team other than the Washington Capitals. Brian McClellan came out and said that he expects a deal to be done between Ovechkin and the Capitals as even possibly before free agency begins, which would mean that would happen today. So it doesn't seem likely that Ovechkin is going anywhere. Obviously, he would be a huge name on the list, but I fully expect him to stay in Washington, and Martinez looks like he's going to be staying in Vegas. So I did not put them on the list. If something changes there, they definitely would be in the top 10 of free agents available. But with that out of the way, let's get into it here. Looking at number 10, I have Mike Riley, a left shot defenseman, 28 years old, finished last season with Boston after being traded there at the trade deadline from Ottawa. And Mike Riley had a very, very good season last year, the best of his career. And in his career, he's played 259 NHL games, scoring 8 goals and 72 assists for 80 points and a -9 rating. But last season, split between Ottawa and Boston, he played 55 games, did not score a goal, but had 27 assists for a career-high 27 points and was a plus player at +5. Last year. He was a very big addition to the Bruins at the trade deadline, and honestly, I would like the Bruins to be in on trying to keep him, but it does look like he is going to be hitting the open market on Wednesday and will be fielding offers from multiple teams. Riley is an underrated guy in a shrinking defense market where, you've got Martinez looking like he's staying in Vegas. You've got Larson and Oleksiak off of the board because they went to Seattle and signed there. So the number of defensemen available is shrinking, and Riley is a guy to watch. He's definitely going to have some interest. Next on the list, we've got Kyle Palmieri from the New York Islanders. He is a winger, primarily plays the right side, but can play the left. He's 30 years old. Didn't have a great year last year, but ended up being very strong in the playoffs for the Islanders. Another guy that was traded at the deadline last year. One of the better goal scorers available. Definitely that second tier of goal scorer, but pretty good as far as that second tier of goal scorers go. In his career, he's played 612 games, scoring 185 goals, 174 assists, 359 points, and a -3 rating. Again, this past season, not his strongest year. In 51 games played, he only had 10 goals and 11 assists for 21 points and was -5. Look for him to have a bounce back year this coming season, but it's going to be interesting to see which team he does it with. Number 8, we have Ryan Suter, a left shot defenseman here, 36 years old. He was recently bought out by the Minnesota Wild. He was not supposed to be available in free agency, but he ended up being bought out by the Wild. This guy is very, very interesting. Now, I'm hearing reports that he wants a big contract, like a 4-year deal, and that sort of thing. I would not give him that, but I think on at least another 2 seasons, Ryan Suter is going to be a very, very good top 4 defenseman. He's played over 1,100 games in his career, 1,198 to be exact, scoring 93 goals, 514 assists, 607 career points, and a plus 105. He was a number 1 defenseman for a long, long time in the NHL. I still think he can be a top pair defenseman. He's a very good shutdown guy. The offense has definitely declined with Suter, but he's still very good in his own zone. This past year, he played all 56 games, scoring 3 goals, 16 assists for 19 points and a plus 9 rating. Again, the offense has definitely slowed up a little, but he is still a very good shutdown D-man that can play in the top 4, and he is going to be on a lot of teams' radars for sure. Number 7, I have Blake Coleman from the Tampa Bay Lightning. He is primarily a left winger, has been for Tampa Bay, but can play really all 3 forward positions. He's versatile, 29 years old, brings a lot to the table. He's proved himself to be one of the best third-line players in the league with Tampa Bay. Can add offense, can score, can pass, brings a ton of energy, can play physically, can drop the gloves when he needs to, really just kind of does it all as an energy forward. He's played 301 games in his career, scoring 71 goals, 55 assists for 126 points and a minus 4 rating. He had a very good 2021 with Tampa Bay, playing 55 games, 14 goals, 17 assists for 31 points and a plus 15 rating. Excellent middle 6 winger here who does a lot offensively, a lot physically as well, and he is going to be a highly sought after player in this year's free agency. Number 6, Phillip Danault from the Montreal Canadiens. He is a 28-year-old two-way center who, has drawn a lot of comparisons to a guy like Patrice Bergeron or a guy like Jonathan Toews, who very much plays that two-way game. Now, Danault doesn't have that level of offense, but he's very good defensively and will play in the middle 6. He's going to get a pretty decent contract wherever he goes this offseason. He's played 392 games in his career, scoring 55 goals, 144 assists for 199 points and a plus 44 rating. 2021 was a bit of a down year offensively for Danault. In 53 games, he only scored 5 goals. Did have 19 assists, though, for 24 points and a plus 9 rating. But he is very much known for his two-way play, his defensive acumen as a defensive forward. And if he can bounce back a little bit offensively, he could be a really nice pickup this offseason. Number 5, I have right shot defenseman Tyson Barrie, who's 30 years old, coming off a monster season with the Edmonton Oilers. In his career, he's played 610 games, scoring 88 goals, 306 assists for 394 points and a minus 62 rating. This past year, though, was a huge bounce-back season for Barrie after a very tough 2020 with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He played all 56 games, 8 goals, 40 assists for 48 points and a plus 4 rating. Barrie was fantastic offensively for the Oilers, quarterbacks the power play, and very well might be going back to Edmonton. With the Oilers losing Adam Larson to Seattle, Barrie's kind of got to be a priority for them to try and get him re-signed and back on that D-core in Edmonton, but he's a pure offensive defenseman. He can put up a lot of points. He plays very well on the power play. He does have his defensive issues in his game, but most offensive defensemen usually do. I think there's a good chance he ends up back in Edmonton. If he doesn't, he's definitely going to be getting a big contract out there on the open market. And one of the top defensemen available in this free agent class, and it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. At number 4, I have David Krejci, a 35-year-old center, last played for the Boston Bruins, has actually played his entire career for the Boston Bruins. According to the Bruins, he hasn't made his mind up yet on what he's going to do. Obviously, time is getting short here. Free agency starts tomorrow. I would imagine that Boston wants him back, but there's definitely options here for David Krejci. He's played 962 games in his career, scoring 215 goals, 515 assists for 730 career points, and a plus 143. Last season with the Bruins, he played 51 games. He scored 8 goals, 36 assists for 44 points, and a plus 16. He's a pure playmaker on the offensive end, and he's a very good defensive center as well. His defensive game has been overshadowed, obviously, by Patrice Bergeron in Boston, who might be, the greatest two-way center of all time. Definitely in that conversation. Krejci is also a very good defensive center. Not quite at Bergeron's level, but he's good in his own end, and obviously extremely good at passing the puck and setting up teammates. A huge assist guy, and we'll see what happens with him in free agency, but if he hits the open market, there is definitely going to be interest on a shorter-term contract. Now into the top 3. At number 3, we have another player who's been heavily linked to the Edmonton Oilers. It is left wing Zach Hyman. The 29-year-old has played with Toronto for his entire career, but is now a UFA. And while a trade between Edmonton and Toronto hasn't gotten done and doesn't appear to be getting done, it does seem like Hyman is likely going to the Oilers in free agency as soon as it opens on Wednesday. He's played 345 games in his career, scoring 86 goals, 99 assists for 185 points, and a plus 72 rating. And this past year with the Maple Leafs, he played 43 games, scoring 15 goals, 18 assists for 33 points, and a plus 19. He brings a ton of energy. He can play physically. He's a good defensive forward, and he obviously can give you some top 6, kind of second-line level offense as well. Look for him to be a 20 to 25 goal scorer any given year given a full season with an 82-game season. And possibly could end up pushing towards 30 goals if he has a really good setup man in the middle. But yeah, Hyman plays really well when he has great players around him, which if he goes to Edmonton, you would imagine he's going to be playing either with Draisaitl or McDavid. So he's going to have great players around him. And it looks like that's likely where he's going, but that obviously cannot happen until Wednesday. Number 2 on the list, we have the top defenseman available in this year's free agent class. It is Dougie Hamilton, a right shot defenseman, 28 years old. Now, there is ongoing contract talks between Hamilton and Carolina, and there's definitely a chance that he just stays with the Carolina Hurricanes. There's no guarantee that he is changing teams here. However, no deal is in place yet. Meaning that on Wednesday, unless that changes, on Wednesday at noon, he is going to hit the open market. He's played 607 career games, scoring 106 goals, 235 assists for 341 points and a plus 72 rating. This past year with the Carolina Hurricanes, he had a tremendous season. In 55 games played, he scored 10 goals, 32 assists for 42 points and a plus 20 rating. Phenomenal year. Coveted right shot defenseman. And absolutely the best defenseman available in this year's free agency. Now, again, he could stay with the Hurricanes. There's ongoing talks there with him in Carolina. But there's definitely going to be other teams giving him a call if he does reach the open market tomorrow at noon. But finally, that brings us to number 1, and that is Gabe Landeskog from the Colorado Avalanche, another guy that, very well could, I guess, end up with his old team in Colorado. He is the captain of the Colorado Avalanche, but talks don't seem to be going as well as hoped between Landeskog and the Avalanche. And again, time is running short. He is a left wing who can also play center if you need him to, but primarily a left wing. 28 years old, captain of the Avalanche, but is looking for a huge contract this offseason. And Colorado hasn't really opened up the checkbook yet and has agreed to anything, so he could be leaving. And that would obviously be a huge, huge move if he's playing somewhere else next season. 687 career games played. He scored 218 goals, 294 assists for 512 points and a plus 50 rating. And this past year, he had another great season for Colorado, was almost a point-per-game player, played 54 games, scoring 20 goals, 32 assists for 52 points and a plus 14 rating, and obviously brings some physicality, a ton of leadership, kind of a power forward type with Landeskog, and obviously a fantastic player and going to be highly sought after if he does reach the open market. But obviously, talks are still going between the Avs and their captain, but if he doesn't get a deal done, he could be somewhere else next season, and he would definitely be the biggest player and the best player available in free agency, in my opinion, if he does hit the open market. So we'll see what happens there, but there are my top 10 free agent players for the for 2021 coming up. Could be available tomorrow if they don't get deals done today or tomorrow morning, and could be changing teams in free agency this offseason. So again, I left Martinez and Ovechkin off of the list because it appears that they're going to be staying with their current teams. But these guys all do not have deals in place as of right now and will be free agents at noontime tomorrow. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon, merchandise store, donation link, and channel memberships down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.